I've been a private investigator for 13 years. I've dealt with cheaters, liars, scammers, and everything in between, but nothing messed with my head like this case. It started on a Monday. My office is small, cracked blinds, a dusty desk, and an old coffee smell baked into the carpet. I was halfway through a stale bagel when I got the call, a woman's voice, calm but tense. "I need help. My ex is dangerous. He's watching me again. I need you to tail him, please." She gave me a name. Mark Heller. Said he worked nights at a warehouse on 6th and Callaway. She didn't want to meet in person. Said she was afraid he'd find out. Honestly, that wasn't unusual. I've had plenty of nervous clients, so I said sure, took the case. But something in her voice, it stuck with me, like she was trying not to breathe too loud. On the first day, I watched Heller for 6 hours. Nothing strange. He smoked too much, talked to himself, bought beer at the gas station, drove a busted Ford. Creepy, maybe. Dangerous. Didn't seem like it. I texted the woman back, told her I'd keep watching. She didn't reply. No big deal. Some clients only want updates if there's trouble. Day 3 continued with further exploration. Still nothing, except Heller staring out his apartment window like he was waiting for something. That night I tried to call her. The number. Disconnected. That's when I got uneasy. I checked the email she'd used to hire me, deleted. No sender info. No thread. Like it had never been there. I checked the voicemail on my phone. Gone. Not deleted. Missing. I started to retrace. I pulled the security footage from my office building the day she called. I wanted to at least see if she'd ever walked in or left a note. But here's the thing. There's no footage of me getting the call. There's no footage of me being in the office at all that day. My security cam files had a gap. Exactly 4 hours long. Like something had just cut a piece out of my life. Now I'm no tech idiot. I keep everything backed up on a separate drive. So I went to check that. Guess what? Drive was fried. Completely corrupted. The file names were replaced with strings of random numbers. Except one folder, one word, forgotten. At this point I started to wonder if someone was messing with me. Maybe Heller, maybe the woman. I went back to Heller's apartment. Parked. Across the street, waited, but this time I didn't see Heller. I saw her, the woman standing at the window, looking right at me, only she looked off. Her skin was too pale. Her hair was damp like she'd just climbed out of water, and her eyes didn't blink. She just stared. Then the lights in the apartment went out. Boom. Whole block. Black. Got out of my car and walked to the door. Apartment 2B, no sound inside. I knocked, no answer. I tried the doorknob. It turned. The place was empty, completely bare. No furniture, no lights, no person. Except, in the center of the floor, a tape recorder. I picked it up, pressed play. Thank you for trying. I just wanted him to be watched, to feel what I felt. But I was never really here. Then static. I left. I won't lie. I was shaking. It felt like something was following me home. Not someone. Something. Not footsteps. Not breathing. Just this pressure. Like gravity pulling wrong. I tried to let it go. But the next day I checked public records for Mark Heller. No arrests, no address, no records. No one by that name had ever lived in the city. I checked death records. Mark Heller, deceased. Died in a warehouse fire 12 years ago. His ex-girlfriend, same Megan Fields, died the same night, strangled. The woman who hired me. So, what was I watching? Who did I follow and who or what hired me? I still hear the tape sometimes, not through speakers, not in headphones, just in my head. Thank you for trying. Now I keep the blinds shut. I don't answer blocked calls. And if a new client ever says the name Heller, I hang up. Because some cases aren't meant to be solved, they're meant to find you. I don't take domestic cases often. Divorce drama, cheating spouses, missing cats, not my thing. But this one felt different. A woman named Erin called me, voice cracking like she hadn't slept in days. Every babysitter we hire quits after one night, she said. They don't give a reason, they just leave. At first I thought it was just a bratty kid or weird parents. But then she added, one girl jumped out of the second-story window to get away. Left all her stuff behind. Please, I'll pay anything. That got my attention. The house was clean. Too clean. Like no one actually lived in it. Suburban, 2 stories, white fence, blue shutters, the usual. But the second I stepped inside, I felt it. The air was thick, like standing in an old attic. Erin gave me a tour. Her son, Jamie, was 5. Quiet. Never made eye contact. Clutched a toy rabbit that looked like it had been through a war. The kid didn't speak the entire time. I asked her what the babysitters said before quitting. She paused. One of them said, "He kept whispering to someone in the walls." I offered to set up cameras. She agreed without hesitation. 3 in the hallway. 1 in Jamie's room, 1 in the living room, 1 downstairs in the basement. Her idea. That night, I waited in my car across the street, monitoring the feeds on my laptop. At first, nothing. Just the normal sounds of a house settling. But at 10:37 p.m. Jamie sits up in bed. He's staring at the corner of the room. Not the camera, not the door, just the corner. He starts whispering, but there's no one there. I turn up the volume. It's hard to make out at first, then I hear it. No, not tonight. He's watching. We'll wait. He lies back down, still staring. Again, at 12:12 a.m., movement. Basement camera. A shadow. Moves across the wall, no footsteps, no creaks, just a slow sliding shadow. It passes by the water heater, then disappears. I rewind. Play it again. Still there. But when I freeze the frame, there's no shape. Just a long blur, like the camera was afraid to focus. At 2:03 a.m. Jamie sits up again. This time the lights in his room flicker. And then he turns to the camera, looks straight into the lens and smiles. I felt my stomach twist. I checked the hallway cam. Nothing. Living room. Nothing. Then I opened the basement feed again, and I swear to God, there was someone standing right behind the furnace. Bare feet. Pale legs. Too tall to be human. And its head was tilted like it was listening. I raced into the house. Erin met me at the door, groggy, confused. Jamie was asleep in bed, holding that rabbit like nothing happened. I checked the basement. Empty, no signs of forced entry. But the floor was wet, like someone had tracked water across the cement. Only, it wasn't water. It was darker. Sticky. Checked the footage again in front of Erin, but now it was all static. Every feed from 10:30 p.m. onward. Gone. Except one clip. It was from Jamie's room, exactly 1 minute long. Jamie's voice, whispering, "He said you'd come. He said you want to see him." The camera slowly pans on its own, like it's being moved, and then it cuts to black. I told Erin I was done, no charge, just don't call me again, but she grabbed my arm before I could leave. "You believe me now, don't you?" And I did. I really did. But I couldn't explain it. A week later, I got curious. I called one of the old babysitters, found her through a background search. She didn't want to talk, but I pushed. Finally, she said, "It's not the kid. It's the thing that lives in the crawl space. It copies your voice, it wears your face, and when you try to leave, it follows you." That was 3 months ago. I still have the tape, the one clip that survived, but every time I try to show someone, it's gone again, replaced with static, and now, some nights around 2 a.m., my hallway camera picks up motion. The same blur, the same shape, standing, waiting, like it followed me home. People think being a PI means action. Gunfights, high-speed chases. Mostly it's long nights in cars that smell like fast food and failure. This case started like 100 others. A missing teen, 17-year-old girl, Mia Sanders, ran away from home after a fight with her stepdad. No phone activity, no credit card trail. Cops gave up after 3 days. Her mother hired me out of desperation, said she just wanted to know if her daughter was alive. I dug through old social media. Buried in the comments under a blurry road trip post was something strange. A location tag, Greywater. I'd never heard of it, not in state records, not on any GPS. Google Maps showed empty land, but the metadata on the photo confirmed coordinates. Middle of nowhere, deep in the woods, maybe 90 miles west. I packed up, drove out, took 3 turns off the main highway, and ended up on a dirt road that didn't even have a name. After 20 minutes I saw it, a wooden sign, "Welcome to Greywater, Pop, 458. Except there were no cars, no people, just silence and rows of old buildings that looked stuck in time. I figured I'd check the diner first. Always a good place for gossip. Bell chimed as I walked in. Place was clean. Too clean. A waitress smiled at me, bright, perfect, like something out of a 1950s postcard. "Afternoon, stranger. Sit anywhere." She didn't ask what I wanted. Just brought me black coffee without saying a word. I asked if she'd seen Mia. Described her. The smile never dropped. We don't get many visitors, but once they come, they always find what they're looking for. Weird answer. I thanked her, left cash on the table, and stepped back outside. That's when I noticed my car was gone. Not stolen. Gone. Like the road had erased it. There was just grass now, no tire tracks, no dust cloud, just nothing. I started walking. Figured I'd head back toward the road, maybe hitch a ride. But after 5 minutes of walking, I passed the same diner, same chipped sign, same wooden porch. I walked faster, turned corners, took alleyways. But no matter where I went, I always ended up right back in the town square. Sometimes the buildings looked older. Sometimes they looked brand new. Like the town was changing around me, like it was watching. Night fell fast, too fast. Street lamps clicked on. Even though I didn't see anyone flip a switch, I heard music coming from the church, soft like a lullaby. I followed it. Inside, pews were full. Every seat, men, women, children, all sitting silently, staring forward. But when I looked where the altar should have been, there was just a mirror, a huge one, floor to ceiling, and in that mirror, I saw myself, only it wasn't me. He looked like me, but his eyes were all wrong. No reflection should. Smile before you do. I ran. Ran past the general store, past the gas station that didn't have pumps, past the school that never had kids. I ran until my lungs burned. And still, I came back to the diner. The same waitress was standing outside. Still, smiling. You'll find her tomorrow. But rest now, we always take care of our own. I stayed in a motel that night. It was already unlocked, sheets tucked in military tight. No dust, no noise. I didn't sleep, just stared at the door, waiting for it to open on its own. The next morning, I saw her, Mia. She was sitting on a swing outside the school, calm, smiling. I called her name. She looked up, tilted her head and said, "You came too. They said you would." I asked who they were. She just pointed at the sky. "You'll see. Once they forget you, then you're part of the town." I tried to grab her, to take her with me, but the second I touched her, she vanished. Gone. Like smoke. I don't remember how long I've been here. My watch resets every day. No one ever ages. No one ever leaves. Sometimes I see new people, visitors like I used to be. I want to warn them, scream, but my mouth won't open when they walk past. And in the diner window, my reflection is smiling again. But I'm not. If you ever see a town, not marked on any map, don't stop, because once Greywater sees you, it remembers even after you've forgotten everything else. Some cases start with a mystery. Others start with grief. This one had both. The father's eyes told me everything before he even spoke. Bloodshot, hollowed out, the kind of look people get when they've spent too long trying to make sense of something that never will. He said his daughter Leela jumped off the Harrington Bridge 2 weeks ago. Everyone accepted it. Police found her shoes at the edge, her jacket floating downstream and no body, but he didn't buy it. Said it wasn't like her, that she'd been happy the day before, that she'd made plans, laughed at dinner, left her sketchbook halfway finished on her bed. He just wanted someone to look. To really look. I agreed. Maybe I shouldn't have. The bridge stood out like a scar across the cliffs. Locals called it the Drop. Long stretch of steel and rust, with trees far below and a current that could sweep away a truck. I searched the area, near the ledge. Found nothing but cigarette butts, cracked gravel, an old bracelet that had probably been there a year. But then, maybe 20 yards down the slope, tucked under a patch of moss and mud, I saw it, a phone. The screen was dirty, but still intact. Battery low, but on. Lock screen photo was of Lila, smiling, holding up a sketch pad in a mirror selfie. I didn't know her, but something about that smile felt stuck, like it was hiding something. Notifications blinked on the screen. Text messages, dozens of them, all from the same number, her father's. At first I figured maybe he was just sending her messages after the fact. People do that. Grieving makes you do strange things. But then I noticed the timestamps. The last one had come through 2 minutes ago. I checked my signal. Barely a bar. Her phone, though, was still receiving messages, even out here, and they weren't the kind of messages a mourning father would send. They were conversations, full ones. "Hey, are you coming back up? You left your sketchpad again, where are you?" Another message came through while I held the phone. I didn't even see it get typed, just appeared. Stop looking. I dropped the phone. A breeze rolled through the trees, but it didn't feel like wind. It felt like breath. That night I stayed in a motel by the highway. Couldn't shake the feeling that something was watching. Every time I blinked, I swore I saw Lila's reflection in the TV screen, in the bathroom mirror, even in the rain-streaked window, always half smiling, holding the same sketchpad. I decided to trace the messages. Used a spoof tracing tool I'd picked up from a tech buddy years ago, plugged in her phone, ran the app. The number sending the messages didn't belong to her father. It didn't belong to anyone. No records. No SIM origin. No cell tower link. Just blank. I called the father to ask about it casually, just to feel him out. He swore he hadn't texted her since the night she disappeared. Said he couldn't bear to see her name on his screen anymore. Swore on his life he didn't send a thing. But the messages kept coming. Every few minutes a new one. Come back up. It's not safe down there. Please. I miss you. It sounded like someone who was waiting for her. Or worse, something pretending. 2. I returned to the bridge one last time. Just to see. Maybe part of me thought I could find a real answer. Maybe part of me was already too close to let go. There was fog over the water. So thick it felt alive. I walked the length of the bridge slowly, listening. Somewhere under the structure, I heard a soft scraping sound. Metal on stone. Like someone dragging nails along the underside of the beams. Then, a voice. It wasn't coming from below. It was behind me. I turned. Nothing. But on the ground near my feet was her sketchpad, the one from the selfie. It hadn't been there a second. I opened it. First few pages were rough portraits, a cat, her dad, a couple buildings. Then further in, the faces started to change. Eyes too large, mouths missing, people with no hands, figures crawling across ceilings. One toward the end looked like her, but the smile was cut too wide, like it had been dragged open with a blade. The last page was different. It was a drawing of the bridge, and on it, a figure, standing exactly where I was. There was a phone in its hand, and behind it a shadow in the fog, watching. I threw the pad, turned and ran, but the bridge didn't end. It just kept going. No matter how far I moved, the other side never got closer. The trees never changed. And then I heard the scrape again, closer, then footsteps behind me, wet ones. I didn't turn around. I didn't look. Eventually, I woke up in my car, keys in the ignition, engine off. I don't remember getting in. The sketchpad was gone, the phone was gone, but that number, her father's number, started texting me. You saw her. Now she sees you. I changed phones, changed numbers. It didn't help. Sometimes I'll be driving past a river or walking through a foggy park, and I'll hear a voice far off. It sounds like a girl calling my name, begging me to come back under the bridge. I've spent most of my life catching people who think they can't be caught. But this case didn't involve people. A couple hired me to investigate something stalking their cabin in the woods. Said it started a few weeks back. Sounds. At night, things going missing, shadows outside their windows. They tried motion lights, cameras, even a hunting rifle. Nothing helped. The wife said she saw eyes in the trees. Not animal eyes. Human. But glowing, red, like coals. The husband thought it was just paranoia, until their dog vanished. They called me the next day. The cabin was deep in the pines, 10 miles off any road with a name. No neighbors, no cell signal, just towering trees and quiet so thick it made your ears ring. I got there just before dusk. The place looked normal enough. Wooden porch, dusty truck, a little shed out back. But the air, it felt off, not cold, not still, just wrong. I brought my gear, infrared scope, trail cams, long-range lenses, stuff that helps when you're chasing someone who doesn't want to be found. I set up motion sensors and thermal cams, across a 200-yard radius. Then I waited on the porch with my coffee, my camera, and my gut full of doubt. Hours passed. The woods stayed quiet. No wind. No birds, nothing. And then, just past midnight, I saw it, not with my eyes. Through the camera lens, a flicker, a red blink. It came from high in the trees, higher than a person should be. I adjusted the zoom. There, in the blackness, were 2 small red dots spaced like eyes. They blinked again, slowly, in sync. I lowered the camera. Nothing. Just dark trees. I raised it again. The eyes were gone, At first I thought it was a trick of the lens, dust, reflection, but then another pair blinked 30 feet to the left. Then another, closer, always visible through the lens. Never to the naked eye. I didn't tell the family. They were already jumpy. But I stayed up that night, pacing the porch, scanning with the camera. The eyes never moved closer. Not yet. By morning, the sensors hadn't triggered. The footage showed nothing, but the blinking red dots had burned themselves into my memory. That evening I set traps. Nothing lethal, just noisemakers, tripwires, alarms. If someone or something moved out there, I'd know. Midnight again. I sat on the porch, camera in hand. Nothing. Then I blinked and realized the trees across the clearing had more eyes. Not just 2, 6, 8, 12 rows of red dots, blinking slowly. Watching, all perched above ground. The weirdest part, they weren't moving. Like they didn't need to. Like they knew I saw them and they were waiting for something else. Then one of the tripwires snapped. The alarm didn't go off, but I heard the bell jingle, the one I tied to the back gate. I spun. Camera up, nothing. But when I turned back, the eyes were gone, every last one. The air turned colder, heavier. That's when I noticed the trees were wrong, not the shape, the shadows. They weren't falling in the direction they should have based on the moonlight. They were leaning toward the house. I went inside, locked every door, checked every window. That's when I saw it, on the upstairs. Camera feed, a tall figure standing on the roof of the shed, not moving, just staring at the cabin. It had no flashlight, no visible eyes, but through the lens, it was blinking red. And then more figures appeared in the background, on tree limbs, fence posts, hanging from branches, dozens of them, and they all blinked, slow and steady. I grabbed my gear, ran upstairs and looked through the attic window with the lens. Only then did I realize they weren't holding still. They were swaying, like puppets, like they weren't alive. And every time they blinked, the lens picked up a faint signal, a radio frequency, static. I recorded it, played it back later. It wasn't just noise, it was whispering, voices layered over each other, chanting. One word over and over, come closer, come closer, come closer. I didn't. By morning, every camera was fried. Every file was corrupted. Only the static remained. The family left the cabin that day, put it up for sale. They asked me what I saw. I told them it was just an animal. Because the truth? I don't think it was ever something that lived. It watched. Through the lens. It wanted to be seen. And sometimes I still catch the red blink. In the corner of traffic cams, security feeds, reflections in windows. Always where it shouldn't be. Always where it can see me. And now I wonder if it followed me back, or if I brought the lens home with me. You can tell a lot about a job from the way it starts. This one started with a key. The landlord was sweating like he was guilty of something. Said the tenant hadn't paid rent in 2 months. No calls, no emails, no complaints. But the weird part? No one had seen him leave, not once, not for groceries, not for trash. The lights were always off, the curtains always drawn. But the smell, that's what finally made the landlord call me. Said it wasn't rot, said it was more like electricity, like ozone. And he was too scared to check himself. I didn't expect anything unusual. People disappear all the time. Die quietly. Slip through cracks. I've seen it all, at least I thought I had. The apartment was on the top floor. No elevator. Just creaky stairs and a bad feeling that crawled higher the closer I got. The door was locked from the inside. Chain. Still engaged. No signs of forced entry. I popped the chain, opened it slowly. That smell hit me instantly. Metallic and sharp, like the air before a lightning strike. Inside, the place looked untouched. Dust everywhere. Plates still in the sink. Mail stacked. On the counter. No signs of a struggle, no blood, no body. But something felt off. The walls were covered with photos. At first I thought they were of the tenant, but no, they were of me. Hundreds of them. Photos of me walking into my office, getting coffee, sitting in my car, talking on the phone. Dozens taken. From impossible angles. Through windows, from rooftops. Some so close they must have been just feet away. Some were dated years ago. Way before this case. I felt something in my throat tighten. A kind of dread I hadn't felt since my rookie days. The kind that says, you're not supposed to be here. I pulled my phone out to take pictures, but it shut off. Full battery, then nothing. The cameras, dozens of them, lined every corner of the apartment. Old camcorders, hidden GoPros, lenses poking through holes in walls and inside lampshades, and every single one pointed to the center of the living room, where there was a chair and a screen. A cracked TV sat on the floor, loop playing. Black and white surveillance footage of me from just the night before, sitting in my kitchen eating dinner. That video had never been recorded by me, and I live alone. I turned it off, looked closer at the walls. Some photos had notes scribbled beneath them, scrawled in tiny, jittery handwriting. He's watching. Does he know? Not yet. He was closer today. He looked right at me. I backed toward the door, heart pounding, but it didn't open. The lock turned. On its own. I tried kicking it, slamming it. Nothing budged. I turned back toward the room, and that's when I saw the newest photo, still fresh on the printer. It was me, standing in the apartment. Right now. My blood went ice cold. I wasn't alone. I searched every corner, bathroom, closet, under the bed. Nothing. No one. Then I noticed the air vent in the ceiling was shifted slightly, like it had been moved recently. I stood on the chair and pulled it down. Empty space above. Dark but deep. Too deep for a standard apartment. I reached in with my flashlight and aimed it inside. It hit something. Skin. A face. Staring back at me. Just inches from mine. Completely still. Eyes wide open. A mouth stretched into a smile too. Big for a normal person. It didn't blink, it didn't move, just stared. I dropped the light, fell off the chair, scrambled toward the door. It was unlocked again. I didn't ask questions, I didn't look back. I told the landlord the place was vacant. Told him to burn the lease. He asked if I'd seen anything weird. I said no. But that night, when I got home, there was a photo taped to my door of me, standing in that apartment, holding the flashlight, mouth slightly open, staring up, and something else, something blurry, watching from above. I was heading out for lunch when I found the envelope taped to my windshield. No return address. Just my name, typed. Inside were 4 photos. All of me. One at my desk. One outside the diner. One walking home. One sleeping. I live alone. I hadn't let anyone in. At first I thought someone was messing with me. I scanned the street, looked for cameras, nothing. The next day another envelope. This one had older photos. Me in high school, college. Even a picture from my mom's funeral taken from inside the church. I didn't bring my phone inside that day. Someone else had. I reported it to the cops. They took the photos, shrugged, told me to install cameras. So, I did. That night I stayed up. 3 monitors. One facing my apartment door, one watching the hallway. One aimed at my bedroom window. At 3:16 a.m., static. All 3 feeds blinked out. When they came back 6 minutes later, my front door was ajar, and on the floor, another photo of me, sitting in my chair, staring at the screen, taken from behind. Hadn't moved. No one came in, but someone had been there, and they were close enough to breathe on me. I switched hotels every night after that, bought burner phones, traveled without telling anyone. Still got the photos. One was of me brushing my teeth in a motel I'd never been to before. Another showed me at a gas station I didn't remember stopping at. The worst one? It showed me looking into a mirror, but the reflection wasn't matching. It was smiling even though I wasn't. I started having dreams, always the same. A dark hallway, a figure in a black hoodie, camera where the face should be, shutter clicking with every step. Sometimes, I can still hear it while I'm awake, the soft metallic click 3 times, then nothing. Last week someone slid a photo under my door. It was blank at first, but under the right light you could make it out. A future date, tomorrow. The photo shows me lying in bed, eyes open, camera placed on my chest, and a figure standing in the doorway, smiling not at the camera, at me. I bought it on a whim. Some dusty unlabeled notebook buried in a pile of junk at a flea market on the edge of town. Cost me $2. The guy running the booth said it belonged to an old PI who vanished in the 90s. Curiosity 1. I didn't expect to find what I did inside. Page after page of handwritten case files. Real ones, descriptions, dates, client names. Some were mundane, cheating, spouses, fraud, blackmail. but some were darker. A girl who disappeared in a bathroom mirror, a man whose wife turned into someone else overnight, a house that swallowed people whole. All of them ended the same way. They're closer now. I thought it was fiction, creepy stories, urban legend stuff. Then I noticed a name I recognized. It was a case I'd worked 2 years ago. A guy who claimed his child was being watched by the ones in the vent. He hung himself before the case ended. This notebook described every detail, including things I never told anyone, and each case that followed I had worked, or would work, cases that hadn't happened yet, clients I hadn't met yet, until they walked through my door. One by one, it all came true. Then I reached the final page. It was blank until the next morning. Now it had writing, my name, my address, the line, he finds the book. Then they find him. I dropped the notebook into a storm drain, duck, gone. But the next morning it was back on my desk, open to a new entry, titled, The Final Case. It describes everything I'm doing right now. This entry, these words, and it ends with, if you're reading this, the next name is yours. I burned it again. Same result. Now every time I go to sleep I hear pages turning, even when there's no book, even when I close my eyes, especially then. I never believed in cults, not the scary kind. To me, they were just weirdos in the woods or desert selling crystals and chasing some made-up profit. That changed the day I was hired by a man named Dylan. He looked like he hadn't slept in weeks. Said his sister had joined something out in Brookshade County, a commune, called themselves the Gathering Flame. She'd sent him one letter, then nothing. Total silence. The police didn't care, so he called me. The address led to a rotting house in the woods, burned out, charred beams, blackened brick. Looked like it had caught fire years ago. But the mailbox still had fresh letters inside, and the garden of all things was perfectly trimmed. I walked the perimeter, found an old cellar door behind the house, locked from the outside. I knocked, waited, nothing. That's when I saw a woman watching me from across the road. Pale skin, red scarf, didn't blink. When I waved, she vanished behind a tree. I crossed over. No one was there. But hanging from a branch above me was a necklace, a tiny red flame on a cord of black thread. Later, at the diner in town, I asked the waitress about it. She froze, then gave me a fake smile and said there was no cult, that nothing like that ever existed here. Said I must have meant some other town. She was wearing the same red necklace, so was the cashier, so was the old man at the counter. I checked again later, at the gas station. Same necklace. Everyone had one. I asked a local sheriff about the house. He laughed, said it burned down in 1992. No one's lived there since, he said, unless you've seen something I haven't. I showed him a photo I'd taken of the cellar door. He stared at it for too long, then asked me to leave. I went back that night. The mailbox was empty now, but the garden was still neat, and the cellar door unlocked. I opened it. Inside there were steps, stone, cold. I walked down. At the bottom, candles, hundreds of them, all burning. No wax dripping, no heat, and standing at the far end in front of a red symbol on the wall was a woman. Red necklace, same face as the missing sister in the photo, but her eyes, they weren't hers. You came late, she said. He already lit the flame. I turned. The stairs were gone, just black rock, and a hallway leading deeper underground. When I looked back at her, she was smiling, her mouth too wide, her voice too flat. You'll wear it soon, she said. I never ran that fast in my life. I woke up on the side of the highway, 10 miles from the house. No memory of how I got there. The red necklace was tied around my wrist. I haven't taken it off, not because I want to keep it, but because when I tried once, the power in my house went out. My walls started sweating, and I heard dozens of voices whisper in unison, "Keep the flame." I found his notebook on a Thursday, one of those cold yellow-lit mornings where everything feels still, like time's taking a breath. I was cleaning out the back of my office storage closet, tossing old files, expired case folders, backup drives I hadn't checked in years. Then I found it wedged behind a metal file cabinet, a plain leather-bound notebook. No lock, no name on the cover, just dust and the faint scent of old cologne. When I opened it, I knew it wasn't mine. Inside were handwritten notes, dated entries. Each one started like mine do. Client name, case number, basic details, but none of the names were familiar except the handwriting. It looked exactly like mine. First, I thought it was a prank. Maybe a friend had written it years ago, or I'd done it myself and forgotten. But then I flipped to the last few entries. One described a missing teenager found in a sealed crawl space, hands covered in black paint. I'd taken that case last month. Another described a woman who heard screaming from her drains. I worked that one 2 weeks ago. I flipped faster now. Each case, one after another, was mine, but they were all dated years earlier. Then came today's date, today's case. Described in perfect detail, a missing woman named Rita Collins last seen near Brookside Motel. I hadn't even gotten the call yet, until my phone rang. It was Rita's sister. I took the case. That afternoon, I opened the notebook again. The Rita entry had updated. Now it described me arriving at the motel. Room 6B. A smell of burnt paper. A red mark on the wall. All things I hadn't seen yet, until I got there. Room 6B smelled like smoke. The wallpaper near the bed was blackened, and drawn on the wall in ash was a symbol, like a crooked sun with too many arms, the same one from another case in the notebook. A case that ended with the words, "He walked into the wall and never came out." I took the notebook home. That was a mistake. The next morning I found a new entry on the last page. My name. The date. A sentence I hadn't written. "If you're reading this, they're already in the walls." I heard something behind the drywall, a rustle, a thump. I pulled out my flashlight and scanned the vents. Nothing. But that night I woke up to find the notebook on my pillow. Open to a blank page, a single line was written in red ink. "Tomorrow you vanish." I burned it. Watched the pages curl into black ribbons. But the next morning it was back on my desk. Open to a new case. Client, unknown. Subject, you. I flipped to the final page. My name was crossed out. Below it, nothing. Just a space, waiting for the next name. He went missing 6 months before I got the call. A private investigator named Harris, same city, same beat as me, went off-grid while following a missing persons case. No signs of foul play. His apartment was locked from the inside. No signs of struggle. No calls, no notes except one thing, his notebook, left perfectly centered on the floor. I was asked to find him. A courtesy job. PI tracking a PI. The notebook was full of case logs, but something about them felt off. They were dated for the future, and every entry described a case I was working on. Not similar ones, the exact ones. Same client names, same addresses, same quotes, even things I hadn't done yet. There was an entry dated next Tuesday about a woman I hadn't met yet. But sure enough, 2 days later, she walked into my office with the exact problem he'd described. Each entry ended the same way, case unresolved. Subject vanished. Shadow remains. Shadow? I flipped to the last page. It was blank, except for 5 words. "They're coming for you next." I didn't want to believe it. I tried to dismiss it. But the next time I checked my door cam footage, I saw someone standing there, long coat, hat pulled low, just standing, watching every night, same time, never knocking. One night I waited, opened the door fast. No one, but there were wet footprints leading down the hall. Bare feet. Big ones. I burned the notebook, but that didn't help. Now my notes vanish, my calendar erases itself. People I met yesterday no longer know me. And this morning, I found a new notebook on my desk. Same brand, same cover. First page already filled. In it starts with today's date, it ends with my name, and 2 words, case closed. It was supposed to be a routine surveillance. Nothing special. Watch the guy, track his movements, report back. He wasn't even interesting. Middle-aged accountant, suspected of embezzling. But then, at exactly 1:42 a.m., he turned down an alley, behind a shuttered liquor store, walked right up to a blank concrete wall, and vanished. I double-checked. No doors, no cracks, just solid cinder block. The next morning, I inspected the alley in daylight, took measurements, photos, even brought a hammer and tapped along the wall. Nothing hollow, no hidden seams. City building permits showed no changes, no tunnels, no construction. That alley hadn't been touched in 50 years, but I saw it. I saw him disappear. The next night I went back, same time, same place, and I waited. At 1:42 the air shifted, not wind, just pressure, like the alley held its breath. And then the wall flickered, like a shimmer underwater. I stepped closer, held my breath, touched it. It wasn't solid anymore, it felt like warm glass. I stepped through and everything went wrong. It wasn't a room on the other side, it was a hallway. Endless, flickering lights, peeling walls. No sound except my own breathing. The hallway bent in directions that made no architectural sense. And the further I walked, the more I saw pieces of my own life on the walls. Photos from my office, headlines from cases I'd worked, even my high school yearbook photo. Aged to match how I look now, something was watching, not with eyes, with memory. I turned around, but the wall I came through was gone. The hallway only led forward. I ran. I don't know how long. Eventually, I burst through another shimmer and landed. In a field, no buildings, no alley, just grass. And a newspaper sitting neatly folded in the dirt. Dated 2 days ahead. The headline? My name, declared missing, and under it, a photo of me standing in the alley right before I vanished. I was tracing a missing girl. Her last known phone ping was near a place called Marlow Street. Problem was, Marlow Street didn't exist, not on any map, not on GPS, not in the city's building records, but her phone had logged dozens of steps. There, photos, messages, all time-stamped, all real. I drove to where the pin pointed, an empty road, overgrown sidewalk, cracked pavement leading nowhere, until I blinked and it was there, a full street, houses, lights, sounds of TVs, people laughing behind windows, like I'd crossed into another version of the world. I walked the block. Everything looked frozen in. The 80s, cars, music, haircuts. One kid rode by on a tricycle and waved like he knew me. I asked a woman watering her garden what town this was. She just smiled, said, "You're lucky. You got in before it locked." I didn't understand until I tried to leave. The road was gone, just trees now. I ran back, knocked on every door. One opened. An old man let me in. Said he'd been stuck here since 1972. Said the town picks a few people every few years, doesn't let them go. No one ages. No one dies. No one remembers how they got here. You forget everything eventually, he said, except the rules. Rule 1, don't look in the mirrors. Rule 2, don't follow the mailman. Rule 3, never ask about the girl in the red dress. I stayed 3 nights. By the 4th, I stopped remembering my own name, but I kept the photos. I left a disposable camera hidden in my boot, took a shot of every house, every face. Then suddenly, I was home. No memory of how, but the film developed fine. Every picture was the same. A photo of me sitting on a porch, smiling, wearing a red dress. Phone work is easy, clean, paper trail, zero mess. That's why I said yes when a guy hired me to trace his girlfriend's call history. She'd been acting off, leaving at night, texting numbers he didn't know. He gave me access to her phone. Logs I dug in. One number stood out. It had no name, no ID, but she called it every night for weeks. And then, after she died in a house fire, one more call went through, 3 days later, from her number, to that same mystery number. I thought it was a mistake, a leftover ping, until that number called me. I picked up, heard static, breathing, nothing else. Caller ID read, Natalie, her name. I called the number back, disconnected. I checked the metadata on the incoming call. It was dated April 1998, 27 years ago. Every part of me said it couldn't be real. But the next day, my phone rang again. Same number. I didn't answer. Left a voicemail. It was my voice on the recording, saying things I never said, yet now I get texts. Old ones. Things I wrote years ago. Things I never typed. My own number sending them to me. One message just said, "Call yourself before it's too late." I checked the logs. I had, yesterday, at 3:07 a.m. And today, the message was a photo of me, standing in the burned-out ruins of a house I've never visited, wearing the same clothes I'm wearing now, looking straight into the camera, mouth open, screaming. They told me it was just janitorial oversight, someone skimming supplies or stealing petty cash, easy work. The subject, Raymond Cole, night janitor, late 50s, loner. I set up cameras across the corporate building, offices, hallways, break room, boiler room, all motion triggered, all with redundancy. First night, nothing. Second night, nothing again. Third night, at exactly 3:17 a.m., every single feed went black for 6 minutes, then came back. No flickers. No static, just a clean jump forward. I checked backup systems. Same gap. Night 4, I stayed inside. Hid in a vented supply closet. Watched through a small air slit. 17 came. The lights didn't flicker, but the air changed. Thick, metallic. Like something was charging. Raymond walked into the hallway and stopped, stood completely still. His shadow shifted. It grew longer than it should have, bent in the wrong direction. Then he turned his head, but not like a person. Like a puppet yanked by strings. He looked straight at my hiding spot. Then the lights cut out. When they came back, I was alone in the hallway. I'd been moved. No memory of how. No sign of Raymond. I quit the job that night, but the footage still shows up in my inbox every few days. Same timestamp. Same 6-minute gap. And the last one shows me, mopping the floor, wearing Raymond's uniform.